brought to you by 3 Echo Leadership and the 3 Echo Podcast. You probably know the feeling. The emails pile up, the deadlines stack on top of each other, and suddenly you're spending your entire day just reacting to whatever fire is burning the brightest. To understand why we get stuck in this loop, we have to look at the Maturity Continuum. The Maturity Continuum is a framework developed by Stephen Covey that maps human effectiveness across 3 sequential stages of growth. And it starts right at the bottom with a baseline psychological state called dependence. We all start life physically dependent on others, but many of us get trapped in psychological dependence long after we reach adulthood. In this state, your emotional weather is dictated entirely by what happens to you. You rely on external circumstances or the approval of other people to dictate your outcomes. This is why downloading another time-tracking app or reading a list of quick productivity hacks usually fails. They treat the symptoms of a reactive life, but they leave that dependent operating system running deep in the background. To actually break the cycle, you have to achieve what Covey calls the private victory. This is a deliberate internal transition from being acted upon to taking the reins yourself. Moving from dependence to true self-reliance is the heaviest lift you will ever do. In fact, mastering this single transition generates roughly 80% of the long-term benefits you will experience in your personal and professional life. You cannot skip straight to leading teams or collaborating on big projects using external shortcuts. You have to rebuild your character from the inside out first. That reconstruction starts with habit 1, be proactive. In biology, every creature operates on a simple loop. A stimulus happens, and a reaction immediately follows. But humans have a unique cognitive gap right between that stimulus and the response. Inside that pause is your ultimate agency. You have the self-awareness and independent will to consciously decide how you are going to react, rather than blindly following your initial programming. Look at this diagram outlining where we spend our mental energy. It splits our attention into 2 zones, an outer circle of concern and an inner circle of influence. The circle of influence contains the things we can directly control, like our own attitudes and decisions. The circle of concern holds everything else. When you fixate on the outer circle, worrying about the economy, office politics, or the weather, you generate negative, reactive energy. Notice the inward-pointing arrows. That anxiety actually suppresses and shrinks your circle of influence because you are giving your power away to circumstances you cannot change. Now look at the right side. When you focus exclusively on your inner circle of influence, doing your specific job well, or improving your own skills, you generate positive energy. Those outward-pointing arrows show how taking responsibility physically expands your capacity to affect the world around you. Being proactive means actively deciding to write your own script. It is the absolute foundation of taking responsibility for your life. Once you accept that you are the programmer, you have to decide what program you are going to write. This is habit 2, begin with the end in mind. It relies on the principle that all things are created twice. First, there is a mental creation, and then a physical one. If you skip the mental creation, you act like a construction crew building a house without a blueprint. You might work with incredible efficiency, hammering nails and pouring concrete at record speed, but you could easily be building the wrong structure entirely. To draw up your blueprint, you draft a personal mission statement. You project forward to the end of your life, visualize exactly the kind of character you want to have built by then, and use that image as the ultimate metric to evaluate the decisions you make today. Habit 1 gives you the steering wheel. Habit 2 provides the map, ensuring that your newly claimed agency is pointing toward a destination you actually want to reach. Now you have to actually build the house. Habit 3 is put first things first. This is the physical execution of your priorities, where you protect your time to do the moment-by-moment work. To filter out the daily noise, we use the time management matrix. This grid separates every task you encounter into 4 quadrants based on 2 factors, urgency and importance. Most people get consumed by the left side of the board. Quadrant 1 contains the unavoidable crises and pressing deadlines. Right below it, Quadrant 3 is filled with deceptive interruptions, other people's minor emergencies that masquerade as important because they are right in your face. The actual engine of self-reliance is Quadrant 2, activities that are important but not urgent. This is where you do deep creative thinking, long-term planning, and preventative relationship maintenance. Executing Habit 3 requires the discipline to consistently say no to the loud, immediate urgencies. By maximizing your time in Quadrant 2, you actively prevent the crises of Quadrant 1 from ever happening, protecting your long-term capacity. When you combine total responsibility for your actions, a clear trajectory for your life, and the ruthless prioritization of your time, you achieve the private victory. You have officially moved from dependence to independence. But here is the catch. As highly valued as independence is in our culture, it is not the ultimate destination of human effectiveness. The true peak of the maturity continuum is interdependence. Interdependence is a state of mutual collaboration where you combine your strengths with others to produce results far greater than the sum of your individual parts. You cannot effectively lead a team, influence your peers, or build high-trust relationships if you are still operating from a place of dependence. Public victories require private ones first. You have to master yourself before you can ever hope to succeed with anyone else. So start building that foundation today. Identify one specific anxiety that is currently sitting in your circle of concern and figure out one action you can take to forcefully drag it into your circle of influence. For deeper dives into effective leadership and building better habits, make sure to subscribe to the 3 Echo podcast.